Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This week on Planet Internet, we are talking about NFTs and whether or not we think NFTs are here to stay. And we have some four cool articles around the internet to illustrate these points. Today, I'm joined by your regular podcast host, Amy Tom. Hello.
Hi.
As well as our editor and community advocate, Ellen Stevens. Hello, hello.
Hello.
And me, Limarc. So why don't we just get into it?
HackerNoon podcast.
Here is the first article we're talking about, titled "Set of Bored Ape NFTs Sells for 24.4 million in Sotheby's Online Auction." And this is an article from Reuters. I hope I pronounced that right. Reuters. And basically, it's talking about a really expensive set of NFTs that's sold on Sotheby's online auction. What do you think of this article, Amy?
I love NFTs and like the randomness of it. Could you, looking at the Bad Apes NFT, Limarc, have pictured that it would sell for 24 million?
No.
Yeah, right? So like I'm just find it so interesting, like, the culture of NFTs of like, how do you determine which ones are going to be the $1 million NFTs? Like the Bored Apes NFTs are cool, but they're not anything different than I have seen, like, bad unicorns or like K9 whatever. Like there's a million different versions of these kinds of NFTs. So I wonder why Bad Apes specifically took off. I'm not really sure.
Mm-hmm. And in this article, did it talk about like a bit about the project or what ended up happening, like why it sold for that much? Was there anything about that?
No, it doesn't really necessarily say like why it sold for that much. And that's like kind of the question really of like NFTs and like how do you determine which one sells, which one is going to sell for more? I really don't know.
Yeah.
I guess it's just like the gamble of like getting into the NFT market.
Yeah. And this one, just to be clear, it was a set of 107 NFTs that sold for a total of 24.4 million, but that's still a huge cost per NFT, I think, for sure. What about you, Ellen? Would you have expected, just by looking at this picture, that these could sell for that much?
I would not have expected that, because it's a quite a large number for just images.
It's literally a JPEG of a monkey.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it makes me think, sometimes when I hear these very large sums of money for what is seemingly like a questionable, potentially way to invest that money. I think about maybe laundering money, not like for me doing it, but other people, other people potentially doing that, because sometimes when there's really no rhyme or reason for why something is done, there may be potentially some sort of reason that you do not know about for why it is to be done, right? Because some of these respectfully are just absurd.
Yes. Do you think the whole NFT market though is like that then? Because like there's so many that sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars. So are all of those big ticket NFTs money laundering schemes?
Maybe not all, but it does. I do question definitely what is going on exactly. So yeah, I know that people can invest their money in all sorts of different things, and sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. But when you think about NFTs, there is quite a large risk factor. Bless you. So I do. I do. I think it does beg the question where this money is coming from and is it really legit? Because there's so many different options in the blockchain technology to, run scams, to do things somewhat illegally. I do wonder about that for sure. But I'm
Yeah.
not, I also don't want to suggest that, I don't want to make the claim that this is what's happening here. It made me so sorry to whomever was the, seller and buyer. But it does make me think about that for sure.
So, talking about why certain NFTs get higher in price, in my opinion, there's kind of two reasons for that. One of them is there's like a functional reason of that. Like the NFT is a part of a larger platform where it serves a function rather than just owning it for the sake of owning it, like a painting or something. But then the other option is like the idea that these NFTs are art and they are like buying a painting at an art gallery that could go for millions of dollars, right? In this article, it said near the bottom, like Amy was talking about, the NFT market as a whole could be a bubble, but this artist believes that they see the Bored Apes as a work of art and that the NFT market is not a bubble. But I guess a question I've always had even before NFTs is like, when would you ever like decide that a work of art could be worth millions of dollars either, you know?
Yeah, it's like, where are these investors that are spending these millions of dollars, and why are they not showing up in the traditional art world? Yeah.
Yeah. But it's a bit of a hard question, but what do you feel is like art that is worth that much? Do you feel like art is worth that much because of its historical value, like a Da Vinci painting or something, or is there something about art that I just can't see that these investors and maybe perhaps you can see?
Okay, yes. I love art and collecting art, and I would pay a pretty penny for a piece of art that was created by someone that I really admired and respected. So I think it depends on the creator, and maybe that's also like the draw of the NFT, right? Like the fact that you go back to the creator and support the creator is something that draws artists to NFTs, right? So, like I would definitely pay more money for art that was created by someone that I respected and admired than some random JPEG of a monkey on the internet. But like, if that NFT was connected to something that I wanted, like I don't know, an Ariana Grande NFT. I love Ariana Grande. I appreciate her as an artist. If she made an NFT, maybe I would buy one because I appreciate her art. That kind of thing.
So it's for the sake of having it in general. It's not the idea that maybe you can sell it off for more later on. Like you just want to support the artist that you like the most.
That's a different side of buying NFTs. You're asking me like, why would people buy these like $1 million NFTs? Like, I guess like people who are buying these $1 million NFTs are thinking about flipping them at some point. But I'm just thinking purely from like the standpoint of supporting artists and buying and the fact that I would spend more money on an NFT that was related to someone that I respected.
Cool. Do you feel the same, Eleanor? Do you have a different aspect on that?
So, with respect to what gives art value in a particular society, I think a number of the factors that were already mentioned are completely reasonable, and I think they are factored into what the ultimate value of art is. I think part of it is this concept of scarcity, which is a concept in economics, and it means that the demand for a good or service is greater than the availability of the good or service, and so it can limit the choices available to customers who ultimately make up the economy. So when you think about originals, right, when you think about art, so you can have a very high demand for a piece of art, and the price can go up. You know, if it's an auction type situation, which I think it naturally would be. So the highest bidder generally would be able to, would be able to get the item. So I think that's definitely something that is that has to be put into consideration when looking at value. So I think it's also individual, right? So if you have 10 billionaires wanting to buy the same NFT, then sure, that price can skyrocket. But is it really worth that value? To someone, apparently, like who defines value? Usually the market, in a free market economy. So personally, it's I don't think I'm in that circle yet, where spending millions of dollars on an NFT is a reasonable decision, or even a feasible one. So I don't think I'm the best.
Please keep your $25 million in the bank, Ellen. Don't spend it on these.
You might want to spend your first million on like a house, or
something like that.
Basic
I think I need to take care of the basics first, before the NFTs.
Yeah, perhaps though the first house you buy might be in the metaverse.
Ooh.
Right, which is one way you can invest in the metaverse today, which is the title of our next article, written by Mr. Bart Hilaric. And this article is actually part of our gaming metaverse writing contest, and it was really interesting. So we did a podcast episode about metaverses before, and this one outlines the ways that people can invest in the metaverse, in specific metaverses, or just in general, how you can invest in this as a concept. And giving it a brief outline, there are basically 3 to 4 ways to do this. So let's pretend HackerNoon had a metaverse, right? And in order to do that, we would need a token for currency on the metaverse. So way one is to just simply purchase the tokens of the company who has whatever metaverse that you're interested in, be it the Sandbox, Decentraland, maybe HackerNoon's future metaverse. That's option one. Option two is an interesting option we also talked about before, which is buying land within that metaverse. So if we believe that the HackerNoon metaverse is going to get huge with billions of users later, then obviously if you bought land in the HackerNoon metaverse right away, that land would skyrocket when the metaverse got more popular. So the first is buying the token, the second is buying land. And then the third one, which is what we're talking about today, is buying that metaverse's NFTs. And in my opinion, I think like this is the biggest function of NFTs that should decide value. So let's say you own a pair of sneakers in the HackerNoon metaverse, but only 1,000 people live in that metaverse. It's probably not worth a lot. But if I bought these sneakers in Michael Jordan's metaverse, and his metaverse had 2 billion people next year, these sneakers could be worth a hell of a lot as an NFT, and I could sell that for a lot, right? So those are the ways that this author outlined of how people can start investing in metaverse today. Now that you know that, Amy, are you going to start doing any of these? Are you going to start investing in the metaverse?
No, okay. Can I be an old person for like 2 seconds?
No.
Sure.
I mean, yes.
You're telling me that you're going to invest in a piece of land that doesn't actually exist, but it's just on the internet, and then you're going to spend your tokens in this like alt universe, and you're going to sell and buy sneakers in this alt universe as well. Like that's how this world is going to play down.
And in some ways you can already do that with metaverses like the Sandbox. I think I told you guys I bought land in that metaverse, and
yes.
It doesn't exist. There,
yeah, it doesn't exist physically, but I can put a video game on there. I can put HackerNoon's website on there, and that exists as a piece of their world now. If I were to do that,
Okay.
yeah.
It blows my mind. Why?
Like another way to think about it is like, let's say you wanted to go to Amsterdam. To go there, you have to get Amsterdam's currency. So
Yeah.
to go to the Sandbox Metaverse and buy things in the Sandbox Metaverse, you have to get their currency. So
Yeah,
it,
but
it
I'm
works the same
actually
way.
going to Amsterdam physically. Like, I'ma be there. But, like, I'm never gonna be in the metaverse.
Oh, I don't know about that. Like
Oh,
already with virtual reality, I could do that. And if I wanted to, well, yeah.
I
How about you,
feel
Ellen?
old. I feel like
Are
one
you,
of those, like, people, like, old people that are like, the internet?
well, in a way, it is like that, right? Because this thing
Yeah.
isn't built yet.
It's so
It is something
new.
completely new.
Yeah.
What about you, Ellen? Will you start buying land, tokens, and NFTs in your favorite metaverse?
So I currently I think I should focus on buying probably real land in the real universe. But I do think that quite a large section of the population exists in the virtual world, right? So even if you're not playing video games, you're probably, existing on some sort of social media platform. And the thing with these platforms is that people get very attached to them and to spending time there. And so when a platform wants to make money, they can sell various extra features, etc. So this is sort of an extension of that, but I do think it's going to go further. So again, we don't know 100% what the future holds, right? So the risks that we've been warned about and that we see happening fairly regularly are the destruction of the environment, various viruses which are just going to continue to get worse. I don't mean to be like a doomsday weather vane kind of human here, but the reality is a good section of the population may in the future, exist at least in part virtually. And so these platforms that are providing these spaces where these metaverses, where a person can, create their reality. So I think that it just seems like the natural kind of step, especially when we, morph a little bit more with artificial intelligence, etc. So,
Wait, I think I get it. Is it gonna be like Sims?
so I'm sure some people would choose that version of a metaverse for them, but it could also be, I don't know, if you want to exist in a world where maybe you don't follow like a particular law of gravity or law of physics or something of that nature. You could get as creative as that's kind of the magic of it, is you can literally exist in a dream world without doing some sort of hallucinogenic substance or what have you.
But I mean, like, that was the big draw of Sims back in like the 90s, early 2000s, right? The fact that like, and that's why so many people flocked to it and were like obsessed and crazy about it and would spend like their entire day on it because the virtual universe was better than the real one. So they would just spend all day on it. So I guess like maybe that's where the metaverse will go. Like, imagine if Sandbox got that like wide adoption and then everyone was just in there. Yeah. Okay. I get it. Oh my God. It's all clicking in my mind. Oh my God. I understand.
Yeah. And so actually I had posted I think it was a different article. I think Limarc, that was the one where you're talking about purchasing some land. I think that and so there was an interesting question that came up that I'd like to talk about because it's I thought it was a good interesting way to think about value. So what actually guarantees the scarcity of the land you purchase, right? So again, back to this topic of scarcity, if you purchase a piece of land in, what are some of the platforms? There's Sandbox, another one. So in different platforms, right? Which one of those pieces of land is going to gain the most value, right? And so when you think about scarcity, right, what that means is that there isn't an infinite amount available, right? So these companies that are starting these metaverses and selling these plots of land, they're likely going to have to program into the system a limit, right? So for example, I think Bitcoin, right? It has a limit, and so they're like dividing it into like very, very small fractions now, or what have you. But that's kind of an interesting point as well for me, because which is more likely to win and why. So
if your question is what guarantees the scarcity, almost nothing. Like as you said, Bitcoin has a cap. When they wrote out the plan for that coin, they decided on that cap. But I've read articles where programmers could find a way to not have a cap. It's kind of like the crypto miners in the community agreed on that cap to keep the scarcity of that coin and keep the value high. But I can just tell you that, hey, these NFTs are capped at 1,000 copies. Get them while they're hot. There's not going to be more printed, but we could mint more at any time. There's nothing stopping us other than, hopefully there's a law that'll come out that we could sue people for not following those rules that they set out, right? But physically, there's really nothing. The sandbox could infinitely keep getting bigger and bigger and not have a cap if they wanted to. But the other way to create value in land, even if it's infinite, is at what point you buy and where you buy. So for example, the reason I was really interested to get in when I did is because that batch was when they partnered with The Walking Dead, which is a series I love. And that was part of the Walking Dead land sale. And there's these big blocks of land that have The Walking Dead on them because that's going to host The Walking Dead content. So if I think The Walking Dead is an important IP and that other people will value it, and if I buy my land next to that big block, then probably mine has more value than a piece of land that's in the middle of nowhere. Just like real estate in the real world, right? If I have an apartment next to downtown, it's much more valuable than one in the boonies, for most people at least.
That's true. Yeah. So the location matters as well. It's just fascinating to see that play out in a virtual space.
But why don't we bring it back to something that's more like easily feasible and like easily understandable in terms of value, and talk about a metaverse that has already proven value, which is Fortnite's metaverse. Not everyone might be as geeky as me. So if you don't know, Fortnite is one of the most popular battle royale games in the world. It was the most popular one at one point. $billion company. And the Fortnite is a metaverse in their own right. They hold concerts with famous people. They hold events that millions of people experience around the world at the exact same time, no matter where you are. And in my opinion, games and that already have metaverses like this, these are like the best place to implement NFTs because kids and adults spend hundreds of dollars buying these digital items that are, again, just images digitally that you'd never really own. If Fortnite shut down, those things are gone. But if they were NFTs, you would have them forever on your wallet, which is why I think they should do that. But as it says in this article by The Verge, Tim Sweeney says Epic is not pursuing that at all. And the main reason they give is they are touching NFTs because of the amount of scams in the space. I'm not fully buying that reason, but I want to hear what you think, Ellen. I think you said you read this article. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so I think it's interesting to present a balanced side to things, right? So you have a lot of people that are very much, gung-ho for these NFTs. And here you have someone that is looking at, what's actually happening in this space that's not overly positive. And so I actually wanted to touch upon some of these scams that are happening because I think, people should be aware of what's going on. So there was a couple of things here. One of the problems that's occurring currently is people are pretending. So they'll go onto these spaces like OpenSea or these NFT markets, and they'll pretend to be a particular artist, right? So, and allegedly the verification processes are not ideal. So they'll upload a particular piece of art onto, this NFT platform, thus creating an NFT.
Mm-hmm.
And then later, an artist will find out that someone is selling their work, potentially for high prices. And they are not them. It's quite unfortunate. And so, like, by that point, that NFT has been registered in the system as allegedly an original. And so I'm actually not 100% sure. I imagine they try and take it off, but at that point, sales have been made, money has been transferred. And what these scammers do is, because with blockchains, right, you have a record of the account and the wallet that bought the particular NFT. So the scammers will sell it immediately, right? So the person now who's purchased it is very likely an innocent person. So that's kind of how they dodge the whole, tracking element. There was, and there was a, larger story about someone who, had purchased something and realized that there was something a little bit off about it. And he had gone to I think it was OpenSea. So he had gone to the platform to complain about this. I don't remember exactly what the situation was, but someone approached him and started a conversation, I think, on Discord or something of that nature. And he thought it was the official people. They pretended to be like the official people from OpenSea. And so, they had like a pretty, I guess, maybe standard conversation of like tech support. And then eventually he ended up screen sharing with these people. And they actually ended up stealing pretty much all of his NFTs. So I think it was
oh my God, don't Discord with people. Don't Discord with random people.
That's the lesson here.
They don't put their support on Discord. What?
Yeah, so I think he lost like $500,000 or something.
Wow.
It was like a large amount of money. And so the kind of they were able to trace, the wallet, but again, by the time that they did this, the assets were already sold to other people, innocent people. And so, one of the lessons that he was saying that he learned was when you're sort of in charge of being your own bank, right? That's one of the risks. Whereas, at a bank, you might go in right away, take out money, whatever. Generally speaking, you're not thinking about the bank scamming you. Right. Whereas now, if you're taking out the middleman in a certain sense, now you're having to mitigate those risks essentially on your own. So that does leave quite an opening for scammers. And there's actually like one quick thing that I did want to bring up that I think is absolutely fascinating. That's a little bit outside the scope of this, but we recently published an article that was talking about privacy coins, right? And so again, when you hear about blockchain, when you hear about NFTs, a lot of the reoccurring statements happen to be that, it's very secure. It's secure because the transactions are monitored. Well, please meet or uncover privacy coins, right? So some coins allow you to register the details of all transactions in the blockchain, and there are others where it is impossible to do so. No one knows either the details of the transactions or the names of the users who perform them. They're called privacy coins. So they're anonymous, peer-to-peer, decentralized systems that are a unit of calculation within the network. So, naturally within any type of new sort of structure or system, there are going to be questionable players. But I did want to kind of note that such things exist and are being developed as well. So, I think that's the end of that rant.
Yeah, cool. And those scams are real. I have Discords, and if you just join one NFT Discord, you'll get those messages every day about this new thing that you should join, this new, you should buy this new coin. And it's the same thing. These are the same people that call and pretend to be Microsoft support, So like it doesn't really matter. It's not the NFT's fault. Those people will be everywhere. Every time there's an option to make money off gullible people, they're going to be there. So it does exist. People should be aware, but it's not the NFT's fault. It's not blockchain's fault.
Well, I don't think I was necessarily assigning the fault to anyone other than, the people who are doing these scams. But the important element is the fact that, the people who are generally, it seems, participating in the whole NFT culture, generally speaking, they're quite tech savvy likely. I would say maybe the majority are. And so, here you have a person that's, he's pretty tech savvy and he fell for it. So it's just the, the level of sophistication, and the level of awareness that you now have to have if you're acting as your own bank. For sure. So that's an important thing.
Bring it back to the original story and something that you just mentioned, Limarc, about the fact that like tons of people are messaging about like buy this NFT, do this NFT. Yeah. The fact that Tim Sweeney is getting like tweeted and DM'd like constantly, like, please, sir, check this NFT. Please, sir, make an NFT with us. I think it's hilarious. Yeah. Or just like fact that like any celebrity is getting approached right now and just like, please make an NFT with us.
Yeah. I'll make one for myself as well eventually.
Yeah.
My entire wardrobe.
Oh, yes.
But nevertheless, NFTs are still big, and HackerNoon being a blockchain and crypto publication, we have a new cool feature to talk about, and I want to hand this over to Ellen, who will talk about it.
Yeah, so NFTs are awesome. But it's good to be aware. So we now actually have the ability for the people who are writing on our website in Editor 2.0 to be able to input NFT art or NFTs. So it's relatively straightforward. So the example given in the article that's written by one of our developers is that you can go to OpenSea and then you can, pick out various NFTs. And then what you'd need, right, is to look at the details of the NFT. So you can actually do this with me. So if you go scroll up a little bit, or you don't have to, but anyways, so you'd go to the details of the NFT, and then there's going to be a contract address that you would copy, but that's not all, right? Then what you need to do is you need to put a hashtag, and then you need to put a token ID. So there's also a token ID that you can copy. So it's going to be like a long string of the address, and then a hashtag, and then 4 or however many digits for the token ID. And all you do is you click enter, and it should show up. So I tested it a few times last night and this morning to make sure I knew what I was talking about. And then it shows up. So it's really cool. And
Yes.
Limarc.
And
Please,
everyone should put their
please use
NFT in the story. Yes.
For sure. And I think it works on both editors. We can correct this later if that's wrong, because I did try it in editor 3.0 and it worked as well. So We'll see.
Great.
But yes, please, if you have NFTs and you're writing about NFTs, please embed it directly. You don't need to just take a screenshot anymore.
Whoop, whoop.
All right. Lastly, some surprise news that came to mind to Amy's delight is that Neopets are getting NFTs now.
Yay!
And I don't want to talk too much about it, but are you excited? Are you going to buy some? What's going on?
Yes. I've decided that I'm going to buy a Neopets NFT. So long as they're not millions of dollars. But I feel like it would take off. I loved Neopets. And then, again, it's like, what am I willing to spend my money on? The things that pull my heartstrings? Neopets. Great memories, good times.
All right. Based on everything we talked about then today, in 1 minute, can you tell me, Ellen, do you think NFTs will last, or are they a bubble that are going to burst, and why?
I think it's likely that this technology will continue. I think, the concept of blockchain makes sense in a lot of different ways, especially in terms of system verification and things like that. And so I think NFTs, as art and et cetera, are just like something that naturally comes with that. So I do think that they are here to stay for sure. I think technology is going to continue developing that way. Yes, if I can do like a quick, sort of a HackerNoon product advertisement though, about writing prompts. If you want to write about tech trends, you can do that. There is a way to, if you go to our nav bar and you hover over write, so there will be writing prompts, and at the very top you can see a description about all of the writing prompts that are available, but you can also pick the prompt that asks about tech and trends in tech. So that's if you want to write about NFTs, please go ahead and do that. You just have to click on the prompt and it'll take you to a draft and you just write. So yeah, sorry. That was
cool.
A little random.
What about you, Amy? Do you think NFTs are here to stay, or are they a bubble that are going to burst? Why or why not?
I think we've been riding the $1 million NFT hype for over 6 months now, so I'm pretty sure it's here to stay.
Cool. I also agree it's here to stay. I think even though there's hype, I think the hype will burst. But as Ellen said, the technology will be here to stay. Once you get away from like these NFTs that are just pump and dumps and you get into things that actually have utility, I think that's where this will last long term. Mm-hmm. And that was our discussion on NFTs this week on Planet Internet. Thank you very much for joining me, Amy and Ellen. And we will see you next time. This podcast was produced by HackerNoon, hosted by me, Limarc, and edited by Alex. Thanks for joining us, everybody. See you next week on Planet Internet.
HackerNoon podcast.